As we kick off this series with the prologue, they bring us in the middle of a war-torn battlefield, with smoke bellowing up into the air and crushed skulls of the undead littered everywhere, with a few of them with arrows lodged with arrows sticking out of the sockets. And changing to another scene, showing a bloody hand sticking out of a pile of skulls that is still gripped onto their bowstring, even in death. With another scene, showing us a leg strewed across the skulls of the undead, with his spear snapped in half, laying on top of his leg and covered in his own blood, probably from the numerous wounds he obtained from the arduous battle. Showing their desire to fight to the end with the hordes of monsters, because if not, they could only lay down and die, covered in their own blood, at the hands of their enemies. And if that was the case, then it wouldn't have been such a hard struggle. In order to get here, to this point in the game and the last to be alive. After 99 regressions, he finally made it to the final hurdle. As our MC has these thoughts, he walks towards the door with blinding light, to be able to gaze at the final round, round 20. As he walks out onto the podium on the bridge, he couldn't help but ponder if all the monsters during this round are these golems. Because the room is chock full of them, they're packed like sardines in here. But he couldn't help but notice that they seem to be protecting the door down below. Knowing things are going to get messy, he channels energy into his right hand. A dark red sinister energy overflows the surrounding area. It turns into a menacing scythe and he couldn't help but laugh, thinking to himself, I suppose these guys wouldn't just step aside, right? After having such thoughts, and if on cue they get powered up and their eyes get engulfed with a bright golden light. The Guardians made the first move, by dashing forward with a slash downwards, aiming at our MC on the bridge. The golem attack connects with the bridge near the podium, destroying it in a single slash. The Guardian realized that he has missed his target, looking over his left shoulder and noticed that the intruder has swiftly evaded directly into his blind spot. After our MC evaded that deadly strike, he activates one of his skills, Insignia of Death. After the skill got activated, a massive red circle with a skull in the center of the formation flashed in a bright red light that had engulfed the Guardian that made the initial attack. So he jumped on top of the Guardian's hand and launched himself forward towards the golem and slashed outwards at the golem's neck. With a single slash, he almost cut the golem's head off. Whenever he casts his skill, Insignia of Death, on his enemies, and make a successful attack on any of his foes, the insignia will light up upon getting activated. The skill will give an additional buff, with 100% damage to any strike, and just like that the rest of the golem's neck gets shredded off and flew through the air. With the first one down, he launches himself off the golem's hand before it even starts to disintegrate. After launching himself into the air, he looks down on all of these massive golems, swarming towards our hero and readying their weapons from bows, spears, swords, and even readying their magic spells to strike him down. So he twirls his scythe around and activates Night of Death. After activating the skill, the light around the golems begins to dim, until they get shrouded in darkness. While they are trapped in the darkness, they look from left to right trying to find our MC, lost and confused. But before they could even think of any reason of why they couldn't find him, he launches himself and slashes outwards with his scythe. And with just a single slash, the darkness gives way and he cleaves right through all the golems in the area, making them instantly dissolve in the air. After the darkness disappeared from his attack, and the monsters vanished, he notices a golem aiming directly at him. With a flaming arrow knocked on his bow, he couldn't help think, well shit. They won't even give me a damn second for a quick breather. And as if it was on instinct, he swiftly evaded to the right and he managed to dodge numerous attacks that pierced right through his jacket, which made him sweat buckets, thinking holy shit. That was a close call. They are bombarding me with fire arrows and ice spells, after dodging left and right through all their relentless attacks. And with a determined look on his face and a red glint in his eyes, he shot forward and mumbles, "If you want to play like that, then get ready." He activated a skill to increase his speed. And like a rocket, he launches forward, and he becomes a black blur. Flickering here, there and everywhere, confusing the shit out of the golem with his after images. The golem couldn't take it anymore and decided to just launch multiple fire arrows from his bow. After the string got released, the arrows got launched at our MC. Like a cannonball of flames, he gets hit, and got knocked back from the attack. But just then, he appears somewhere else, so he decides to taunt him and says, "You're too damn slow, and don't even talk about your shoddy aim. You will never be able to hit this guy." And as if on cue, the area around our MC glows in a light blue hue. He couldn't help but lament, with sweat dripping down his face, thinking, "Me and my damn mouth." He looks down and notices a massive blue magic circle glowing with a torrential amount of magic swirling around him. With no time to dodge, he gets encased in a giant pillar of ice, trapped. With no way to move, he tries to figure a way out of his dilemma. He sees the golem walking towards him and crushing the ice with every step he takes. He notices the golem raising his glaive in the air, getting ready to finish our hero off with one final strike. Our MC, seeing this, thinks to himself, "Well, I guess I have no other choice." With a determined look, he stares directly at the golem. He unleashes his skill, Moonlight of Destruction, destroying the pillar of ice he was encased in. The golem, with his arms still extended outwards, gets cleaved and bisected him into two, and shreds everything in the surroundings into rubble. After letting out a deep breath, he couldn't help but think that was a little too close for comfort, because if he got hit with a head-on collision with that, even he wouldn't be able to come out of that unscathed. Twirling his scythe around and flinging it over his shoulder, he ponders to himself for a moment, if he has to deal with every single attack from these golems, it would be never-ending. So the best thing to do is to end it all in a single move. With one golem, taking aim at him with a fire arrow knocked on his bow, and another one, gathering mana for an ice elemental attack. He takes a step forward and gathers his own energy, for one final move. And he activates Moonlight Destruction, but just before he slashes outward he activates yet another skill, Blood Moon. Slashing outwards, everything in the room gets cleaved in half with a destructive dark red light. That causes a flurry of heads, limbs and arms, falling towards the ground. With everything raining down and disintegrating, our hero finally lands with a light step onto the ground, and with that, the air bellows outwards in all direction, blowing away all the dust and debris. He exhales and mumbles to himself, "That took a lot more effort than he anticipated, and hopefully that is the last of them." Now it's time to see what the Guardians were trying so hard to protect behind the door. Without further ado, he walks up the stairs towards the entrance. Just as he walks through the doorway, he couldn't help but wonder, what the hell is this place? It's like a goddamn temple. Do I have to go through that massive door? Or is there something else that is going to pop out at me? With one final look around, he decides to just walk up the stairs towards the massive door in the center of the room. Just as he steps into the magic circle, it lights up with a golden light. He couldn't help but smile and hope that this is it, that this long and arduous journey is finally over. Hopefully it will all come to an end at last. As if someone is answering his thoughts, a system prompted pops up in front of his eyes saying, "In order to gain entrance into the boss room, requirements required 1 out of 5. Then another prompt pops up in front of him, "In order to open the boss room, a minimum of 5 people are necessary." With a look of despair and sweat trickling down his face, he couldn't help but lament, "You got to be shitting me." Then another prompt appears before him, "One player has been confirmed to enter the boss room." And with another prompt, "Due to not meeting the minimum requirements of entry, you will die in 5 seconds. And if it was on cue, After finish ready the last prompt, a light shot out of the magic circle encircling and binding him placed to the spot. What do you mean? And then the countdown begun. 5. This is way too intentional. You goddamn fucking angel bastards. Gritting his teeth he yells out and unleashes an attack with his scythe. 4. After the attack, the binding light restricted him even more, holding him in place, unable to more, holding onto his scythe with his brain drawing a blank, he could only mutter a few words in his grim despair. Now way. It's all going to end like this? Another prompt pops up as if to rub it in his face. 3. Looking down at his hands, seeing them slowly to dissipate into nothingness in front of his eyes. 2. With nothing else he could do, and losing all hope on getting out of here alive, he could only say 2 words before he slowly dissolves into nothing. Damn it! And with that the final prompt appears. 1. Another prompt appears with no one there that says you have died. Followed by a few more saying, you have fulfilled a hidden requirement. Time reversal rune had been used. You will begin before the first round. Time reversal runes used. 100 out of 100. Starting the 100th and final regression. That is all I got for now, but please leave a comment and subscribe down below. And thanks once again for watching.